This guy's life is stuck on loop, so he speedruns it. And there's aliens. The war has come. Our enemy is far worse than Russians. Aliens. An alien race called Mimics drove to our land on an asteroid and crashed in the middle of Europe. Finally, somewhere other than America. News broadcasts describe how Mimics have devastated the continent in a deadly war. Losing battle after battle for over 5 years, the NATO-led United Defense Forces finally won a victory at Verdun, France. Verdun again? Are you sure these are Mimics and not Germans from a colonized moon? Oh wait, that was another war. Never mind. So a new mechanized jacket combat suit has changed the balance of power. UK Special Forces soldier Sergeant Rita Vrataski is hailed as the Angel of Verdun, after killing hundreds of Mimics single-handedly. Go Brits! She becomes an instant icon and a walking advertisement for the human military. The United Human Armies, never thought to say it in one sentence, prepared to use the D-Day of Verdun to commit all their forces in a multi-pronged final assault on Europe. Major William Cage of the US Army is one of the talking heads in the media to tell Vrataski's story and boost the war effort. War never changes. Cage wakes up on a helicopter trip to London the morning before the invasion of France begins. He meets with the commander of the Western Allies, General Brigham. Cage believes Brigham needs help to boost his public image or prepare for a post-war political career. Instead, the general orders Cage to lead the front. Apparently, the first wave of Allied troops will land in France and provide ground cover for the media. But Mr. Cage here doesn't seem too enthusiastic. He's a major in advertising and has no experience in combat. Classic /Poll member. Cage tries to avoid the order and goes as far as blackmailing the general using his media skills. Alright, if you don't go, get arrested then, you deserter. Cage tries to escape, but the guards taser him. Nice try escaping the building full of soldiers, bro. Cage wakes up on a pile of duffel bags in the afternoon at the airport. It's now a huge military base and the jump-off point for the big mission in Europe. The morning starts with a sergeant kicking Cage and calling him a maggot. I would prefer a cup of coffee, but that's the army. Brutal. Sergeant Farrell approaches and takes Cage to a phone call. But the telephone booth looks like a camp prison. Wait, hold on, something isn't right. Apparently, Farrell has orders from General Brigham that describe Private Cage as a deserter, who has impersonated as a major. Those army boys, smarter than they appear. Cage is assigned to a group of oddball soldiers called J Squad. They'll be leading a mission tomorrow. Death Squad gets caught gambling while playing poker by Farrell. So he forces the hotheads to eat the cards they are gambling with. Sarge instructs them to get Cage ready to deploy tomorrow. Cage is taking a physical training. So that's how we were trained for Vietnam? No wonder we sucked there. The next day, Cage is nervous. I feel you. I once impersonated as an IT engineering specialist and got a job at the Tesla factory. Lasted for about 20 minutes. Cage is given a battle suit, but the J Squad treats him like dead meat and doesn't even teach him how to disable his weapon safe mode. Don't worry, Cage. If the Soviets won the World War with one rifle for 2 men, you'll get it somehow. Just don't run into bullets. As the Death Squad is about to drop from aircraft onto the French coast, an enemy weapon strikes the back of Europe with a surprise attack, but Mimics were entirely prepared to slaughter the humans. Oh man, not the Omaha Beach you wanted. I hoped wars would be different in the 21st century. Sergeant Vrataski lands near Cage while he's struggling to select a language for his new costume. She fights like a brave man but gets bombed and dies within minutes. Suddenly, a Mimic appears near the J Squad and kills all the members. So I was right about the Death Squad. What would you know? Shocked, Cage finally learns how to shoot and kills a Mimic. Not bad for a rookie deserter. But then a huge alpha Mimic appears and runs at Cage. Our boy shows his Sigma nature, grabs a Claymore mine, and explodes when Alpha Mimic jumps on him. From deserter to a war hero real quick. Just before Cage dies, the Alpha's blue blood covers him. Somehow, Cage wakes up in a panic in the same spot he was the day before, on top of the duffel bags. The same rude sergeant calls him a maggot, and Farrell again takes him to the J Squad. The Groundhog's Day continues, but Cage still does learn how to get the safety mode off his weapons. Cage gets repeatedly deployed. This time he manages to save Sergeant Vrataski, who thanked him by taking his battery. These girls, never trust them. He dies again and wakes up, desperately trying to explain that the Mimics will ambush the entire invasion. Still, nobody believes him. No Tenet movie fans here. Instead of being shocked why Cage knows everyone's name, they tape his mouth. Told ya, brutal army. No one listens to a private. Cage wakes up again and again on the duffel bags. With each time loop, Cage becomes slightly more pro at killing Mimics and saving members of J Squad and unthankful Vrataski. But Mimics still kill everyone eventually. In one loop, he lasts long enough to enjoy small talk with Vrataski. I'm gonna start calling her Rita. Rita seems to recognize the situation and tells Cage to find me when you wake up. And they get killed again. Cage wakes up in the duffel bags again, but cooperates with Sergeant Farrell and J Squad to buy themselves time and find Rita. After several fatal attempts to slip away, Cage eventually manages to get away during physical training and finds Rita in a training bay. Rita greets him rudely, like she always did. When Cage explains that Rita asked for him, she sneaks away with him. Apparently, what happened with Cage happened with her too. She was also covered in blue Mimic blood and had a time loop ability. They got to a weapon warehouse where they met Dr. Carter. The doctor was a researcher in General Brigham's HQ and devised a theory. Okay, this will be hard to explain, so give me a moment. So Mimics act not like an army, but as a signal organism. The common Mimics act like claws, while Alphas are a central nervous system. And there's also a brain, the Omega alien creature. It controls all the mimics. When Alpha gets killed, Omega starts the day over again. But it does remember what will happen just like Cage. So this Omega knows exactly what humans will do before they do it. And it also purposefully lost in Verdun so humans would gather all the powers at one point, so Omega could kill them all at the same time. Rita was allowed to kill hundreds of mimics in Verdun. Oh, you sneaky aliens. Definitely not the German type of brain. Rita had visions of the Omega but never had a chance to meet it in the flesh. Now Cage controls the power to reverse time, not Omega or Rita. She tells Cage that he must repeat the loop until he is shown some piece of information that will help them succeed. Then take Rita to Omega and kill it. Cage gets a piece of combat training to succeed on his infinite mission and gets his back broken. Rita also explains that she was wounded and received a human blood transfusion, so alien blood lost effectiveness and broke the time loop. Cage must make sure he dies on the battlefield or in training or she'll have to kill him to start over. And she kills him. Ah shit, here we go again. Through many loops, Rita trains Cage, sometimes killing him over his protest when seriously injured so that he will resume the loop. Imagine yourself having to die 100 times and not knowing if it will be your last one. Scary. Cage finally begins to see visions, at least some progression, but not on the love front, unfortunately. Cage and Rita develop combat skills and proceeded on the beach during the invasion. Still, despite their efforts, they both keep dying. Watching Rita die so many times make Cage emotional about her. Oh, can't blame the man. Who could resist that pretty face? During one loop, Cage gets too tired and prefers to go to a London pub instead. I can't blame him. There, Cage sees the Mimic's further step in its attack, assault on London. Finally, Carter finds the Omega. It hides deep inside a dam in Germany. Now you just have to make sure your 1,000 attempts will succeed and you'll get to Germany. Who said the war would be easy? At least you have infinite attempts. Honestly, at this point, I would forget about humanity and use my superpowers to clap cheeks and drink. But what would you know? After multiple failures and deaths, Cage and Rita finally make it inland. Cage slowly gathers details about Rita. Well, man has all the time in the world to do it. He finds out that Rita lost her boyfriend at Verdun and she watched him die 300 times until she could no longer time travel. And he was dead for good. Rip in peace. But at least that means she's single now. They get to a farmhouse where Cage does everything to stay away from proceeding as long as possible and enjoy time with Rita longer. Drink some coffee, maybe some wine later. After all, you have a whole farm for the two of you. And it's pretty romantic here in the country. Rita realizes Cage is trying to coax her to stay in the farmhouse. Cage admits they have been at the farmhouse quite a few times before, but Rita dies every time and he tries to prevent her from dying again by going alone. Shocked and offended at this simp behavior, Rita intentionally gets them killed. Man could finish the mission already but got too emotional on a girl. Damn, too many soldiers were dead on that field. Cage gets tired of seeing his love killed hundreds of times and goes alone. He eventually succeeds in making it to the German dam alone but finds nothing. Surprise, a mimic trap. This time they don't kill Cage. Look at these aliens, not so dumb after all. Cage almost gets captured before he manages to drown himself. In the following loop, Cage, Rita, and Carter understand the vision is a trap. Mimics know who Cage is and they do everything to capture him. So what's the plan? Turns out Dr. Carter created a device that could locate the Omega if it was stabbed into an alpha mimic. But since no one believed his theory, he was demoted and relegated to a mechanical repair unit. So after thousands of failed attempts, it's the first time you're mentioning it? Rita and Cage switch focus. They need to get the transponder from a safe in General Brigham's office. After hundreds of loops, they finally convince Brigham to give them the transponder. Well, that was easy. Merely hundreds of safe loads were needed. Oh no, he sent troops after them. Come on, Brigham, can't you believe in time travel at least once? In another loop, they escape and Rita stabs the transponder into Cage's leg. Cage discovers the true location of the Omega, deep under the Louvre Museum in Paris. Gotta say, this Omega alien got some style. Marty and Dr. Emmett attempt to escape from the Allied headquarters, but the car is stopped by a soldier in a mechanical jacket. So the airbag knocks out Rita before she can kill Cage. Cage wakes up on a hospital gurney under arrest. He receives a blood transfusion. Uh-oh, he can no longer loop in time. No more wine with Rita at the farm. Rita helps Cage escape. Okay team, you only got several hours before the doomed invasion without the ability to loop in time again. Act smart and fast. Who's dumb enough to go with you on a one-end mission to Louvre? Death Squad. Cage shocks the hotheads with his knowledge while Rita adds credibility. Hence, the squad steals an aircraft and flies to Paris. At least someone was smarter than General Brigham. The team gets instructed to avoid killing the Alpha Mimic guarding the Omega because that will cause the Omega to reset time. So if one approaches you, die. This will be harder without a save load. The team gets on fire on the way to Louvre and Mimics kill half of the J Squad. Wounded and low on ammo, Cage, Rita, and the 3 remaining soldiers use the remaining engine power to slide the aircraft into the Louvre. The rest of the squad, sacrifice themselves on the slide, but Cage and Rita make it into the museum. That's thousands of days of practice, gentlemen. Once there, Rita tells Cage he will distract the Alpha Mimic while he drops a belt of grenades onto the Omega. Cage doesn't want his love to get killed for real, but Rita believes neither one of them will survive this night. This means a bit of romance is allowed, so Rita kisses Cage. She wishes she knew Cage better. Oh girl, the man had thousands of days with you. No idea what he has already done. Rita goes to distract the Alpha Mimic and Cage dives underwater to find the Omega. After a minute, Alpha catches and kills Rita. The Omega senses Cage and orders the Alpha to kill Cage. The Alpha goes after him and stabs him. However, before he dies, Cage pulls the grenade pins and drops the grenade belt into the Omega. The Omega explodes and dies, and the Omega's blood washes over Cage and seeps into him, like the Alpha's blood did, and his eyes open. Oh man, here we go, again! Cage wakes up on the helicopter on the road to London the morning before the invasion and is meeting with General Brigham. He hears the celebratory pealing of bells and sees a news conference where the general announces that a huge spooky energy blast was detected in Paris. Mimics are gone, and the human forces will operate a huge sweep through Europe the next day. He sees J-Squad doing physical training at the base. Finally, everyone treats him as an officer. Cage finds Rita and she greets him with the same rudeness she has every time they meet in every loop. Cage laughs. Well, I guess you can call it a good ending.